All right, good evening, everyone. The time is now 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call our work session to order. Our first item of business is our monthly financial update with our CFO, Nicole.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is the financial update for April of 2026. We're in the 10th month, so we're at 83.33% of the budget year. If you look at the property tax, we're pretty close. This is always the hot topic here. We're pretty close to what we should be for the budget year, but that has, our incoming revenue for that has been turned down, as we expect that's normal for this time of year. So we won't, of course, have 100%, but I imagine we'll probably be about 83% by the end of the year. Overall, we're at 88% as far as the revenues go in the general fund. So we're doing pretty well to make up for some of that shortfall. As far as expenditures go for the general fund, we're at 79%. So the belt tightening has continued to work. We have just last Friday, enacted the non-emergency spending freeze. So anything that's on an emergency, so that was on the 15th of May. So that should help to cut those expenditures and make those drop as well. So just the utilities and non-emergency or planned spending. The other funds are doing really well as well. They're right on target as expected. Some of the expenditures are a little bit under budget, but some of them also come in at the end of the year. So I expect we'll be pretty close to where we had planned to be before the end of the year on the expenditures there. So, but no big surprises. We're still doing really well for the budget, the belt tightening for the budget. So everyone's doing good.
Thank you for that. Ms. Perry, I don't think that document was uploaded to the packet. I'm not finding it. Just FYI, so in case we need to get it uploaded, to reference. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Pickle at this time? Okay, thank you very much. All right, our second item of business on our consent agenda, approved contract amendment number 1 with Barge Consultants for Bicycle Boulevard, resolution number 26-1994. Should I see you?
Thank you, Mayor, fellow commissioners. Okay. So I prepared a statement that I had to I'll read the statement I prepared. But this resolution is basically to authorize an amendment of $52,000 to Barge Consultants for the Bicycle Boulevard. I have just in the last week, I've had some conversations with the vice mayor, a couple of other folks and the city manager. There's some questions about the design of the Bicycle Boulevard, and we don't yet have the design for the Bicycle Boulevard. There is a concept that was part of a larger Greenway plan that was created by somebody else outside of Red Bank years ago that came back into play at the time that this was adopted with our help from our partners at SET-D. And Barge basically took that design, and then we hit the gap. And I think probably everybody, maybe Commissioner Holmes isn't familiar with the gap, but from the beginning there was a gap between Culver and Reading Road. And the original plans called for going around Culver and Easton and down Newberry to Reading Road, which is a rather treacherous way for somebody to get around. So in conversations with Barge, we have talked about 3-lane Dayton Boulevard between Culver and East and West Newberry. And that will give us the extra space that we need to continue the Bicycle Boulevard through there on both sides of Dayton Boulevard, just in that location. But there's no design concept yet for that. But once this amendment is approved, then Barge will begin working on the design to bring back to commission. What this amendment does is from Culver Street south, it creates approximately a 320-foot buffer zone to be able to push cars to the inside lane to allow for the creation of the bike lane. And then north of West Newberry, it does the same. It creates a 320-foot taper to build that buffer zone. But because we extended it beyond Newberry and beyond Culver on both ends. Then there was some additional NEPA right of way, and there will be some additional design work that will have to be done. And Barge has priced that in this amendment at $52,000 to include those two pieces. Once we do that, that will give them the green light to start the design work that we'll be able to bring out to the commission and let everybody have a look, see what's being proposed. That doesn't mean we're committed to anything. That just means we have to do this part to be able to get the design documents in our hands. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions?
So where was the gap, where was that gap among us?
Well, the original, it was between Culver Street,
Yeah.
and East and West Newberry.
Okay.
The bicycle boulevard goes down Linden Avenue, and from there, the original thought was to turn it right and go up the hill, Culver, around that really sharp S turn, but, you know, we looked at being able to do it this way, make it much safer for people to navigate
And they would come off, Newberry onto Dayton Boulevard.
on the Dayton Boulevard,
Okay.
right? And Newberry will be where they unload, coming from the south, and it'll be where they load coming from the north from Reading Road.
I had a question. Is the gap because of the railroad tracks or is just the?
Well, I would say that that's the largest part of it, yes. The answer is yes.
They're not looking to share that right away in any capacity?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Their words, not ours.
Naturally.
All right, any further questions?
I have one more. Is there a timeline?
Well, as soon as Barge is waiting on me to get the amendment back to him, once I get the signed amendment back to him, soon, the mayor will have to sign it because it involves a TDOT contract or a TDOT project. And so the mayor will have to sign it. So once I get her signature on the amendment, get it back to them, Barge is waiting to hit the button and execute. And then from there, you know, I see this just, you know, picking up speed and going forward. The longest delay will probably be when they get us the design documents, being able to share them with the commission, let everybody review them before we decide on what we're doing. After that, it'll be construction.
Thank you, Director Tate. Moving on to item 3 on the consent agenda, approve agreement with Embark Construction for White Oak Dog Park Sidewalk Extension, resolution number 26-1905. Director Tate.
If you'll look on the screen, Director Perry put up a map. There's a map in your packet, but I didn't think it justified what we were talking about tonight, so I created this one. Currently, we added an additional small dog park. If you've been up there recently, you can see how we've extended the small dog park. We leveled that a little bit and moved the small dog park closer to the road. This little L corner here, we took the fence down and just included it in the large dog park. But there's a point of conflict there with people that are walking, and when there's a large volume of dogs, they have to walk through dogs, and sometimes those dogs can be aggressive to other people. And so we were asked to take a look at what we could do, and Justin has worked up a plan, and you can see where my little mouse drone extension is. That will be an approximately 125-foot sidewalk extension that bypasses the dog park. It still puts you in a small area of conflict at the parking lot, but the troublesome area is at the entrance into the dog lots themselves. You know, dogs are worked up and they've been playing or they want to go play, and you go by and, you know, we all know what happens. So what we'll do is we'll bypass, we'll put in this approximately 125-foot extension. It will be a 6-foot wide sidewalk. It will match what's already there, and it will connect to the lower sidewalk. And then anybody wishing to go further and connect to the connector trail, you'll have easier access to go around the dog park. And we intend to come back. I have to look with Justin again. We had intended to put a gate up across the sidewalk there so nobody could cut through, and to keep dogs that were already in the Sally Port there, to keep them from running out the backside. So we'll take another look at that. That's not part of this project, but we did talk about extending the fence across the sidewalk to keep that blocked off.
And the funds.
The funding, yes, I had 4 Ps, and one of those was provisions. And this sidewalk extension is being paid for by ARPA funds as a facilities improvement. So there'll be no cost to the general fund.
Excellent. Any questions, further questions? Okay. Moving on to item 4 on our consent agenda, Public Works Appreciation Week, resolution number 26-1906. Director Tate.
Thank you again, Mayor. It's, I could read this, it's similar wording to previous years, but I would just like to say that I'm extremely proud of all the Public Works employees. They work hard, even in this belt tightening, era that we're in now. They still work hard to make sure things, the Jubilee got kicked off, the grounds were clean. And, I just can't say enough. I'm so proud of everybody that works for Public Works, that the job and the effort that they put in. We did not intentionally plan any additional activities this year as we have in the past, for obvious reasons. But nonetheless, we are still going to celebrate and enjoy our accomplishments for the city of Red Bank. And we hope the citizens will join me in thanking the Public Works employees. I see them all the time on Facebook, thanking the solid waste guys, for picking up the garbage and brush. But I hope they extend that to the whole team going forward.
We're very grateful for our Public Works team. Does anyone else have any comments?
Just like you, every now and then go get a cold glass of water for some of them, and then have a good conversation with them. Yeah.
Oh, any conversation you have with them is good. That's the city manager.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that, I'm particularly grateful for, our Public Works team for doing jobs that a lot of other people don't want to do, and wouldn't do, and you couldn't pay them enough to do. So, really grateful for their, dedication to it. All right, and yours as well, Director Tate. Moving on to item 5 on our consent agenda, proclaim May 10 through 16, 2026 to be National Police Week and May 15, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. Resolution number 26-1907. Chief Seymour.
Good evening. So JFK back in 1962 kind of designated May 15th to be Police Memorial Day. So that day is in recognition of officers that have given their lives. And also with that, Police Week was kind of adopted to recognize those officers that serve and protect our communities today. So that's really the resolution.
Fantastic. We're also very grateful for your team. Everything that you all do for us, keeping us safe. Any other comments? Thank you. I think Dr. Holmes especially understands the sacrifice that our officers make. All right, thank you all so much. Moving on to item 6 on the consent agenda, accept the 2026 reimbursing HIDA grant for 2026 in the amount of $19,000, resolution number 26-1908. Chief Seymour.
Good evening. So this is a reoccurring grant that we have to re-up every year. So in essence, what this does is it pays for the overtime for our narcotics detective that works with the DEA. So we sign that up with each year.
You say their competition is worthless? Oh, I can't believe that. I am the CEO.
That's okay.
Okay. Please continue.
I've been covered.
So in essence, what it does is it pays. It's 100%. It's not matching, so it's 100% that pays for the overtime.
Excellent. Any questions about that grant? Okay, thank you, Chief. Item 7, public hearing and first reading of ordinance 26-1306, request to rezone 1106 Ashmore Avenue from R1 to RZ1. Mr. Van.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any other zoning map up? So this request is for 1106 Ashmore, which actually is for 1106 and an adjacent parcel. The owner is Optimum Offer LLC, The operator of that business is Josh Barr, and their office is right next to Clever Ale House, so they're very accessible. They've been part of this community for a little while. And tilted, but this is at the corner of Ashmore and Coker Circle. The two parcels are R1 right now, and most of Coker Circle is actually already RZ1, and so that's why Mr. Barr is choosing to do the RZ1 because it seems to be an appropriate use. There's a lot of houses on Coker Circle that are similar to what he's going to build. The major difference between the homes that he's proposing is that they're single story, which matches well the neighboring properties. They're all single story there. And the existing structure on 1106, he plans to leave, and he's going to build he's going to establish 4 lots next to that and build similar houses to the one that's existing. The major difference between RZ1 and R1, of course, is the road frontage. It's often the reason why people are requesting the RZ1 designation. In R1, the minimum requirement is 60 feet. RZ1 does not have a road frontage minimum. I believe he is going to do about 50-foot lots, or 50-foot wide lots. Planning Commission reviewed this and unanimously voted to approve it. And there were no public comments at that hearing.
So are you saying across these parcels, he's going to subdivide them into a total of 4?
Yes,
Like which would, are you saying in addition to the structure that's already there?
yes.
Okay.
So he'll be basically dissolving the lot line that's there right now and then drawing 4 new ones.
Okay. Okay.
And sorry, one small caveat is that the existing structure is, I believe it's about 6 feet from its northern property line. The RZ1 zone requires that there be 25 feet between the structure and the boundary of the RZ1 property. And so the way that we're trying to work around this is that you request a variance from the BZA so that you can have that existing 6-foot setback. So the Planning Commission included this condition, which is if the BZA grants it, then rezoning would move forward.
Okay, so they haven't had that hearing yet?
No.
When does that happen?
That would be the 27th
Okay,
of May.
and if that doesn't go through?
Then we will have to find another solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
He may leave that property out and not
Okay.
rezone that one and still do the second parcel.
I see.
But
You
yeah,
just
so,
wouldn't be able to build the 4, probably.
I think probably he would still leave that structure there and just not rezone that one and then rezone the second parcel and just do as many single family houses that he can there.
Okay. Any other questions?
Comments? Excuse me, is the Coker Circle split? Is that a?
No, there is an alleyway. Is that what you're referring to? There's a very narrow, I believe it's 12 feet alleyway between the back of the Coker Circle properties and the Ashmore properties.
Runs right up through here.
Oh, okay.
Up through there.
That part of the property that's going this way,
Mhm.
is that fronting a street?
Both parcels front Ashmore. The front doors are on Ashmore. But the vehicle access is from that alleyway.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
thank you.
And this is a little more hilly than it looks here, right? Like I remember this area. Okay,
Yeah,
it looks
so,
flat on 2Ds.
yeah, so the building footprints that he's proposed are towards that alleyway, so to the right of the screen. There is some steep slope right up against Ashmore, but his footprints don't appear to be disturbing that at all.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Kay. All right, item 8, public hearing and first reading of ordinance 26-1307, amendment to ordinance 23-1235, rezoning Strawberry Lane properties. Mr. Kay.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's a bit more complicated. We're calling this an amendment to a zone rezoning ordinance that was passed in 2023. The Strawberry Lane subdivision. We don't have the ordinance like that. That isn't it.
Ask him to do that.
That's okay. short story short is that there was a condition on that zoning ordinance which prohibited any use other than single family detached. And in the RTZ zone, there's numerous uses that are permitted by right, that are not single family detached: parks, churches, community centers, townhomes, 0 lot line homes. And so the way that ordinance reads right now is that you can't build any of that. In 2023, after reviewing the planning commission minutes and the city commission minutes, it's not exactly clear from the record why that condition was included in the ordinance, other than maybe some kind of compromise between some of the citizen comments at the time, which at the time, I'm sorry I don't have the visual up, but Linda Circle was being proposed as the frontage for these houses. And since then, 3 years in between, there's basically been an engineering problem for the applicant, which is how do we make this work and not upset the Linda Drive traffic flow. So they decided to push all the front doors down to Strawberry Lane and make that a public street. And so one of the ways that they can make that happen is if they can build attached single family homes. It becomes an easier engineering problem. There's less steep slope that's being disturbed. And so they're asking that condition for single family only be removed, so that they can make the engineering problem a little bit easier. That will work. Yeah, so these are the parcels that were rezoned back in 2023. Except for the one on the very left, that one is not included in this at this moment, because they're already developing that one. And also the one on the very right, sorry. So that was a separate owner. I don't know if this is too much information, but where it says R1, that's a separate owner, and he hasn't been involved in the project since 2023. So it'll really just be those kind of puzzly looking pieces in the middle. So again, Planning Commission, we reviewed this. It was a unanimous vote to recommend approval. There's a couple other BZA variances that they're going to be going for this month. But the one before you right now is obviously just to remove the condition that only single family detached be allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. Do you have any questions?
Just a comment, but based on my recollection of the comments of the neighbors on Linda Drive, it would be welcome news, I think, to them that the front doors have been relocated to Strawberry Lane. So I hope that would be a positive change in the eyes of those I've heard some objections from in the past regarding this development.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Fair.
Thank you.
Item 9, public hearing and first reading of the FY27 budget, ordinance number 26-1308. Mr. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. And tonight we're scheduled for a public hearing, so I have the usual set of slides that will officially properly work us through the budget ordinance. And rather than go through that here in work session, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize 3 members of the community who have completed the Budget Academy certificate. And if I could be joined by CFO Pickle, she's actually going to deliver these. It is a gentleman we know and love as Trouble Clifford, a gentleman named Chad, and also a gentleman named Davis. And CFO Pickle, if you would deliver those for me, please. The certificate recognizes over 8 hours of their time committed to making the journey with staff and commission on really pretty much every nuance of the budget. And it is appreciated. I tell everybody it's not a public meeting without the public. And their devotion to the city process at this budget time is very appreciated. Mayor, with that, I'll yield back to you if there's any discussion the commission wants to have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any comments or discussion topics they would like to bring up?
We had a comment at the town hall that I wanted to address publicly, and I'll probably go over this in the regular session as well, when we have the opportunity. But we had a resident who asked what the expected impact of the proposed tax increase might look like for your typical Red Bank resident. I had only looked up my own property, but my assessed value is a little bit above average, so based on my tax bill that I paid last year and what I would be paying this year, the difference for me was gonna be, I got the annual number because my mortgage is amortized, so it was 200 something for the whole year, and it was gonna work out to about $22 a month. My family recently canceled Netflix because it went up to $28 a month, so we're fortunate to be covered on that increase. I know not everybody has something that they can cancel, but because my property is not the median assessed value, I wanted to run some estimates. Of course, every single person's tax bill is going to be totally different based on your assessed value, but based on the median value of homes in Red Bank, which would be $69,650, and that's your assessed value, not your retail price, of course. And that's based on the most recent county assessment. Of course, we haven't had an assessment in 2 years. We'll have another one 2 years from now. That would be a potential tax increase of about $215, $250.92. And that would work out if you have a mortgage and then your tax payment, like mine, is amortized across the mortgage payment. That would work out to about $18 a month. So that's the potential average. Again, everybody's going to be different impact. Just to try to put some dollars to the pennies, because it's hard to say when you're talking about 1 penny, 3 pennies, 16 pennies. So just wanted to address that public comment that we had at our town hall. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
So Commissioner, yeah, just hoping to get a very quick kind of history recap of the last fiscal year. We had a bit of a tax assessor fiasco and made it a little bit confusing, kind of tracking that number over the last 2 years. That's somebody to speak to that. That'd be cool.
Oh, I'll give it a shot, Commissioner. We were originally indicated that the assessed tax rate would be about 89 cents. It was to the fourth digit, so it was 0.8965, I think. 0.8968 was indicated to us to be the revenue neutral tax assessment tax rate, which would have given us the same property tax revenue as our previous tax rate. I believe that was $1.69. $1.67. Thank you. So we went from $1.67 down to $89.8968 in theory. And then the conversation at the commission was we needed additional revenue, and so the commission raised taxes to 98 cents. So we went from 0.8968 to 98, which was all the conversation around a property tax increase to include public testimony and tough votes. And then we found out after that process that in fact revenue neutral number was $1.775. 1.0775. So it wasn't 0.8968, it was 0.0775. If you apply the same logic to the 0.0775 tax increase, the revenue that we additionally needed from property taxes, that takes you up to a tax rate of $1.13. And so even though we missed the ability to send a revised tax rate out, Tennessee statute says it's too late to pursue collecting at that new tax rate, but you can in fact establish the new tax rate. So that's what we did. The city communicated with the comptroller's office, and the tax rate is in fact set at $1.13 now. And that's probably follow the bouncing ball, even though we're gonna collect revenues at the effective billed tax rate of 98 cents. And that's the roughly $800,000 shortfall. The tracking is exactly spot on. When we originally estimated the impact, we estimated 14. And we're collecting right now around 82%. We'll get a few percent more. So we're gonna wind up right at where we thought we would be in terms of revenue loss. And if you really want to quantify what that revenue loss looks like, it's 2 foot tall weeds down Dayton Boulevard. It's approaching 14 staff down. It's just 14%. We're closing in on 12 vacancies, which has been just hugely impactful. Greg was complimenting his public works team, but the impact has been disproportionately felt in the streets division because sanitation is its own fund, didn't have the freeze, so they have filled their vacancies. Similarly with stormwater, they didn't have a freeze. So all the vacancies got absorbed in the streets division, and that is also the division that does the grass cutting at our facilities and our parks. So the streets division has done yeoman's work, really shouldering this belt tightening, as has police and fire. We are down 2 lieutenants in the fire, and when you only have 15 and you're missing 2, that hurts. And we're down 2 officers and likely going to be down a few more as people move on. So the belt tightening has been real. And the last thing is, I just have to say this, the basketball court between this building and City Hall really was lost. When we no longer had the fund balance where we could confidently take on a capital project of that scale, we had to take a step back, rethink our sequencing of all of our parks projects. And that just never came back up to a doable thing. We had to put all of our use of fund balance against compliance, the conversion agreement, and then activating Hickson and activating the former Red Bank Middle School site. I don't see a day when we're going to be able to have the bandwidth, financial bandwidth, to do that basketball court between here and City Hall. So if you want to quantify what belt tightening was, it's a huge impact in the streets division, significant impact in police and fire, 2 foot tall weeds, and not getting our first basketball court. So that's it.
And we looked into recourse at the time, but that wasn't a viable option.
Correct. Statute, actually, we're not the first city this has happened to, so there is guidance from the comptroller how to handle this. Once the billing goes out from the assessor property, you can't rebuild at a new rate. So the billing had already gone out, so we're gonna collect revenues at the 98 cent rate.
Which was effectively a 9-cent tax cut.
It was.
Thank you for the context. I think that just kind of frames where we're at tonight and the next subsequent vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Any other comments, questions, Commissioner?
I asked last meeting, how long can we sustain the ever growing? And I get the fire and police and the public works, they're boots on the ground, as we all respect and know. I'm thinking about the 11,000 or maybe 7,000 that it's going to be tough to have another property tax and then one next year that's planned. I do appreciate Chris having seen information about total benefit packages to different grades. And that's wonderful to be the employer of choice. Again, that's a heavy burden on residents. And that's part of the tax. Ms. Slade, making that capital improvement plan, no better. Thank you. That plots a more even playing ground in how we manage funds. I just have a feel for taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we all feel for taxpayers. We are all taxpayers ourselves. Unfortunately, we have spent, Vice Mayor and I have spent 5.5 years trying to claw our way back from decades of underinvestment in the city. With other commissioners who have now rolled off, Commissioner Wilkinson the last 4 years.
And
It's
the,
been a really, yes, you the last 4 years, and you the last two years, yes. It's been really hard, to make decisions in a situation that we didn't have a hand in creating. This is something I think about a lot is, just the state of government investment in infrastructure. And why, for decades and decades, leaders before us just kept kicking the can down the road because they just didn't want to make those hard choices. And that's something that nationwide cities are facing. Chattanooga, Hamilton County have been under EPA consent decrees for years because sewer infrastructure was crumbling, leaching into our water system, into the ground. And so now they are beholden to the federal government to make those repairs in a timely manner where they were not doing it for years and years. I don't want us to be in that position. And so I think that's why we have made the very difficult choices that we have made, to say, we know this is hard, but we have to invest in our community if we want to leave it better for the future generations that come after us. I don't want to leave what we walked into for the people who come after us. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. We shouldn't be greedy with, investing in a community that not greedy. We shouldn't be greedy in keeping our dollars to ourselves instead of investing in a community that we say we love. We have to balance that. And investment is balanced when we do it the way that we have been doing it these past few years. Doing our first ever comprehensive plan so we can plan for what community and economic development, looks like in our community for the next 20 years. A parks master plan for the first time ever, our first ever capital improvement plan. We're planning for the future, which is not what has ever been done before us. And to do that, that means we have to be courageous. And that means that we have to have hard conversations with people. Really, what it comes down to is we have in the state of Tennessee, we have a very low property tax burden compared to many other cities and towns across the country. And that's what we've been used to. So when we have an increase, it feels like a lot because that's just not typically how things have been run. But just speaking for myself, I'm not comfortable leaving this place worse than I found it for my son, for his friends, for his children that are going to be here in the future. So that's where I'm coming from when I'm thinking about this. I'm also a social worker, so thinking how do we love on our community? We all pay a little bit in, and we all get a really, really great, return on that investment. Particularly here in Red Bank, we are so close to all of the people, who are our staff members. Consistently, we hear compliments about how people can call City Hall and actually talk to a real person on the phone. Don't have to go through, touch this button, hit this number, and then you end up in a voicemail anyway. We have people who are really responsive. I just had a neighbor reach out to me this week about an issue with her trash can, and she was very upset about it, and I completely understood where she was coming from. I reached out to Director Tate, and he called her. He called her personally to sort out the issue. You are not gonna get that in another city. Like, you're just not. If you do find it, you're very lucky. You should, love that city too. But around here, certainly, I feel like we stand out in that way. And we have so much transparency now and engagement with our community that we never had before. And I really love this city. I think we all love this city. We all want to take care of this city. And I don't think it's fair. I think, Vice Mayor, I can't remember, maybe you can help me remember how exactly you phrased this, but, in the past, you have talked about not wanting, in reference to, maybe the older generation that's on more fixed incomes and how, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, that we don't, hand down, our community to our children. We borrow it from them.
Yes.
I don't think that's what you're referencing though.
Yes, I think that was in the same maybe context of the conversation that we had, and you said that. Yes, we are borrowing it from them. We are taking great care of each other, and that's the most important thing. We have done things like that was it last year, we voted on the tax match reimbursement for our elderly, disabled veteran residents who qualify. We are doing things like that. We have our active older adults resource fair that helps to get them connected to other resources that exist in the community, utility bills or home improvements and things like that. So I don't want to ramble on it. I just want to say that I love this community. We're all concerned about our taxpayers. But if you want to live in a city and you want to care for a city, you have to invest in your city. And that's all I have to say. Go ahead.
The commissioners at the time, decades ago, took care of what they needed to at the time. There were ball programs run by volunteers, and I know that's changed now because there's financial investment. But prior commissions made decisions, took care of what was as we are now in a different way. I don't look at it as kicking it down the can, kicking down the can down the road, pardon me. But I know many of those persons did the best they could with their own commission for our city, because I lived through it. Thank you.
It's a lot, so.
All right, so what I've noticed in the last 5 years, we had COVID, cost increase, software and tech demands, in our homes and city government, political climate, weather incidents. But if we think of the next, 5 years, we cannot still be in a place of how we're going to pay for this or that. We have a plan that we've come up with. And other places around us may raise taxes, Saudi Daisy, Steel Creek, may even raise and grow, and property values may increase at the next assessment. With economic development, we may get a larger sales tax in this city, a tax base, and taxes will not be our main roadblock, which is what it seems to be. Stormwater is an example in Godsey Ridge of investments in the city. One was highly needed, stormwater was highly needed to be addressed, and the other is a boost to citizens' well-being. So investments, maybe $1 million now, will be $4 million saved later if we need emergency repairs over time. I'm scrolling through. Visualize the red bank you want to see. Do we want to see one barely getting by arguing about how to fund things and needs and upkeep and service demands, or one that people want to live in and work together to make that possible? There will always be two sides, or maybe three, depending on who you ask. But must we choose one and hold so tight and not open our minds to the other? The system, our tax system, and all the systems that we know were created long before most of us were born. It was created in a time that is different than now. The same may be true. There's nothing new under the sun, but we have to admit that it is different. The system and this is just my opinion, was not created for maybe single people raising children or older single adults on fixed incomes or those without certain skills or training or those impacted by physical or mental limitations. One example is the grocery store. I won't ramble on about it, but it's estimated we only need 20 to 30% of what's in the store. But what would happen if we stop buying the other 60 to 70%? So the workers, the employees, the CEOs, the trucking companies, and that's the system we've created that just keeps going. And so our tax system is another system that keeps us in balance. And the balance is when humans come together, we discuss things, we talk about things, we make plans on how we will fund things. In this community, we have the unique ability to control somewhat of what we want and how we plan to get it. Can we come together and make a plan for the next 100 years, 50 years, or how many every years? We now have tools we didn't have in 1955. Our attitudes have changed. What we do for a living has changed. Therefore, again, that system has to shift at some point. We have and run a full-fledged government system. We say no to Chattanooga, but we have everything they have, and we must maintain it. Do we realize that the country, the state, nor the county will come to help or save us? If we remember from last year, we asked for a loan, we didn't get the loan. Whatever reason we didn't, but we asked for a loan to make up for that downfall, the shortfall, and we didn't get the loan. For us that are against funding services and personnel, is it the city government? And do we go to other meetings, or we go to the state legislator and talk to those leaders? Do we go to the grocery store manager when prices increase? Or corporate headquarters when their prices increase and demand lower prices? But here we're trying to improve the overall quality of life for our local citizens. And it's looked at seemingly a little bit different. If you don't know how to calculate your Red Bank taxes, we can help you. I actually made a little chart that shows like for Red Bank. And I think there's the confusion of Red Bank versus the county versus your homeowner's insurance, which mine increased as well, versus other expenses. Do you need a roof? Do you need a new porch? Which we all have those home repairs as well. Okay, I'll stop right there.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'd like to echo a lot of the sentiment that Mayor kind of laid out. All of us up here are parents. I've got 2 young kids, and my assessed value is probably below the average, it's below the median at least. And, when it's broken out by month, it's $13.60, and that's less than I spent at Chipotle this month. I speak for lunch. And those dollars are going directly back into our city. And on our near-term horizon, we have phase 1 of 2 parks opening, which is incredible. In our recent rearview mirror, we just opened Gazi Ridge, which was $0 out of our taxpayer fund or general fund, or no taxpayer dollars. Incredible. And I see folks up there of all ages and demographics. It's unbelievable. And so those are things that we didn't have before, and frankly, we didn't have the vision for it prior to the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, however long you guys have been doing it. And then that's the momentum I think we need to keep alive. I really like what you said, we leave it better than we found it. And I don't want to ramble here, but I'm proud of the work we've done, and I'm proud of the direction we're heading. And I wholeheartedly support the budget that we've got. And I know we're not voting on it right now, voting on it a little bit, but I think it's pretty obvious where my vote lies. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further comments? We'll have to keep it short because we do need to allow them for citizen comments. Okay.
Just for further context, they say you get what you pay for, but I think in Red Bank, we get a little bit more than we pay for, because just as a reminder, the tax rate that's being discussed tonight is $1.29, And the current tax rate in the city of Chattanooga is $1.93. And I think that the city of Red Bank meets or exceeds most service delivery that you receive in the city of Chattanooga, even after this proposed tax increase, for a significant discount. So just another piece of regional context to keep in mind.
President. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to citizen comments on items on the work session agenda. Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 2 minutes here in work session or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer. If time expires, please respect her direction and conclude any comments. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner or to city staff or to the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. Citizens are now invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Clifford McCabe, 2618 Berkeley. First of all, I want to say I'm one of the few here that's the same age as the city of Red Bank. I've been through all the commission, all the stuff, so I know. I even remember back when I volunteered about the fire department. That being said, second of all, I agree with Miss Jamie. It was not so much the idea of kicking the can down the road. They did what they had to. Now, I'm not saying that they could have done more and should have done more, but that's hindsight. The next thing is also Red Bank is special, but we have to realize we live within our budget, and the belt tightening continues. I just don't want to lose vision of the fact that what Red Bank is a bedroom community, and that's what it's going to be.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe.
Deirdre Hamill, 211 Woodrow Avenue. Okay, so we paid 98 cents last year, but it should have been $1.13. So you're going up 14% this year. Is that from the 98 or from the 113? So you're increasing and then increasing again.
We did not increase again, no.
Well,
It was correction of the tax rate, correct?
but
Okay.
still, my taxes are going up to 113
You will
and
feel a
then
different
14%
percentage.
above that. Okay.
Correct.
Hi, my name is Nam. I'm at 3526 Lamar. So my family and I have been a resident here for 30 years now, since 1996. And we love Red Bank. I grew up here. I, graduated here. I'm also a social worker. It's really tough, these meetings, because I think there's a lot of consensus that people don't care, so they don't show up. But the meeting starts at 5, and a lot of people are working families, right? So I had to take off PTO time in order to make it to this meeting. And I have the luxury to do that, and I'm fortunate to do that. For the last 5 years now, I've been paying property tax for my parents because they cannot afford to. My mother is on a fixed income, which I think a lot of elderly folks are. Her annual income on disability is $16,800. I did the calculation, and her current property tax right now is 10% of what her income is on her fixed income. When my father was alive and supporting her with it before I stepped in to start covering their property tax, he worked full time and he still only made $16,000 a year because I did their taxes. So for me, I know that I can afford the increase. I can afford to cancel my Netflix. I can afford to stop eating at Chipotle. My mother, on the other hand, cannot. And I know a lot of elderly residents who cannot, because I get that we plan for the future. I love that. As a social worker, obviously, I love caring and planning for the future. But there are residents here who can't show up because they're planning on what to eat today. Like, they're planning on what to eat tonight. They're planning on what to eat tomorrow. They're planning on how to feed their kids. And when I looked at what the proposal was to invest in, I saw the 65% of it were capital investment to redo the middle school, which I graduated from. I love that middle school. I take my dog there every other day. I walk that field. I see people there who, enjoy the field. I'd rather it remain an empty field, to be honest. if it means that the property tax doesn't increase. So that people can still just, you know, be able to afford eating, for an example. So.
Thank you.
Buffy Wilson, 3523 Lamar Avenue. I graduated from Red Bank. I moved back to Red Bank to raise my family. And I plan on hopefully retiring in Red Bank if I can afford it. I also work for the government, for Hamilton County government. And I don't make that much. I would fall below the poverty level. Unfortunately, those are my choices. I chose to stay home and raise my family in Red Bank because at the time that was an affordable thing that we could do. And now we're just putting in new homes. I don't think there's any consideration for the people that have lived there for many years and made Red Bank what it is. I remember 20 years ago when our sewer taxes were raised, and we were told that that was to pay for the increases that were coming. And now they're just raised more, and I hear that, you know, just more taxes are coming. And I just feel like belt tightening could happen. I'm not getting a raise this year. It's unfortunate. And, you know, we do have to make cuts at our own home. So I don't support the tax increase.
Thank you.
We don't have any further comments at this time. Our final item of business, is there any other business to discuss? If not, we'll go ahead and adjourn, and we will return at 6 o'clock for our regular meeting.